Bye week. I'm in Nashville, and as you can see, it definitely is fall here. Some beautiful colors and a nice cozy fall day. Let's talk the 49ers defense because they were unrecognizable compared to the powerful unit that we saw early in the season throughout that game against Kansas City, which was ugly. And then really throughout the first two quarters against the Rams, the 49ers couldn't get off the field, 5 of 6 for LA on third down. But boy, did D'Amico Ryan's unit roar back to life in the second half of the game against the Rams. And the adjustments were relatively simple. They started playing the screen pass as well. And here's the thing. Every single defense that pass rushes as well as the 49ers do with their front four, at some point of the season, they're going to see a heavy dosage of screen passes to try to combat that pass rush. In fact, the 2019 49ers, the gold rush, it was at this time of the season, that Arizona game in week 8, that the 49ers started seeing death or attempted death by screen pass. They saw so many of those screens and they had to adjust to them, and they successfully did. It normally takes a little bit of time to get your defensive linemen into a little bit more of a restrained, patient mode. You call them stack monsters. That's what defensive linemen are when they switch from pass rushing to pursuing those screen receivers. And the 49ers had to make that adjustment in 2019, and they obviously had to make it this season against their opposition, the Rams, who believed that the only way that they could beat the 49ers was death by screen pass. And once the 49ers took that away, it was all smooth sailing for them. But for, the big picture, when you think about what this 49ers defense might look like over the stretch run, the back 9 of this season, and you say, well, are they going to look like the defense that came out as number 1 in the league over the first few weeks? Or are they going to look like the terrible unit that we saw against Kansas City? Or is it going to be a mixture of something in between? And I really think that the answer is going to lie in how healthy the 49ers are. Kansas City caught the 49ers at the right time. The 49ers were beaten up. They were returning a lot of guys, but those guys like Nick Bosa, Charvarius Ward, didn't practice in full during that week. And it was obvious that the 49ers were a step slow, and they gave up all those consecutive touchdown drives, and it was brutal, right? But I think that this defense is enough of a track record. The players, the stars especially on this unit, have put together enough good tape for us to really say, okay, that's who they are when they're healthy, right? We know that Nick Bosa is a superstar when he's healthy. We know that Charvarius Ward is a stud when he's healthy and he's had practice. And I think that's what this 49ers defense is going to be down the stretch if they can come back to full health and stay that way. Now, full health, that relies on Eric Armstead, right? That's a big, what's he going to be? I don't think people really know. The plantar fasciitis is a tricky condition. If Eric Armstead can come back in full health, then the 49ers are going to have that defensive tackle position taken care of. They're going to stop the run against everybody the way that they stopped it against the Rams, and then everything else can kind of flow from that. So Armstead's a big question mark as far as health goes. You look at Jason Verrett. I think the 49ers might see him here on November 13th. No more Emmanuel Mosley. Obviously, they had him at the start of the season. But if Verrett can come back successfully, and that, I get it, it's a big if, but if he can do that, then all of a sudden the 49ers have a good corner opposite Charvarius Ward that they can really depend on from a veteran standpoint, right? You look at the safety position. Jimmy Ward, at some point, is going to get the cast off of his hand. I don't think Deshaun Gibson's been nearly as good as he was early in the season. He's come back down to earth a little bit. So at some point, maybe you do see Ward without the cast, total mobility, right, with both hands. Maybe you see Jimmy Ward fill in at his old safety position. That probably makes the defense better. When you get Verrett back, you also develop more cornerback flexibility to potentially take over at slot corner, right? So, I mean, you could go Deommodore Lenoir back in the slot. That was the 49ers' top option there for a while, but they can't do it right now because Mosley's down and Verrett hasn't yet officially returned to the lineup. So Jimmy Ward is playing that slot cornerback position, and I don't think that fully benefits the 49ers defense. So as you can see, it's all tied to health. Dre Greenlaw too, he's been out. That's going to help the 49ers. He was leading this team in tackles when he went down with the calf injury. So I just think that once this defense gets back to near full strength, if they're lucky enough to have that happen, the 49ers are going to sample more like that early 2022 unit than the one that we've seen here over the past couple weeks. And then, the final point is that D'Amico Ryans, he grew up over the course of last season, and I think it's totally reasonable to expect him to continue growing up over the course of this season. I don't think that D'Amico was good against Kansas City. He got out-schemed big time by Bieniemy and Andy Reid. In the first half, I thought that Sean McVay was beating him on those third downs. But in the second half of the Rams game, we saw D'Amico Ryans just make straightforward adjustments. Of course, he had the linebackers in the right alignment at the right depth to combat the screens. But it was the speed of the blitzes, something as simple as that really helped the 49ers. Fred Warner, instead of something complicated, the blitzes were slow developing with Talanoa Hufanga in the first half. They took a lot of time. Instead of all that complex stuff that the Rams were beating on third downs especially, and with their screen passes, he just lined up Fred Warner over the guards and used the speed of a four-man pass rush, the NASCAR package, lightning package, defensive ends combined with Fred Warner. So you had a five-man speedy pass rush and just blew by the Rams. They didn't even have time to get screen passes off at that point. Matt Stafford was completely screwed. So simple adjustments like when to blitz Fred Warner and how to blitz Fred Warner really echo what D'Amico Ryans did over the course of last season with really good, simple adjustments to bring pressure with blitzes. And if he continues to evolve as a defensive coordinator in the chess match of a season, and you combine that with better health of the 49ers defense, I think they'll be just fine. There's a reason why people are so optimistic now about this football team, because they snuffed out the Rams, gave up 58 total yards of offense, 2.3 yards per play in the second half, and a healthy 49ers defense has a track record, combined with a defensive coordinator that has shown that he knows how to adjust and knows what he's doing. That's the recipe for something special. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but that's the 49ers outlook. I think it's a good one on the defensive side of the ball. Everybody take care here from the fall colors of Nashville. We'll see you all soon as we continue covering this 49ers bye week.